Welcome to the Moxo podcast. I'm your host, Nikita, and today my co-host Christy and I are excited to speak with Hayes Canupp, founder and CEO of JerseyBird. Founded in 2019, JerseyBird designs and manufactures custom jerseys and apparel for teams worldwide. Their mission is to become the go-to brand for teams of all sizes, from local leagues to national teams. We'll explore how Moxo has played a pivotal role in JerseyBird's growth by streamlining projects, enhancing customer interaction, and boosting retention. Hayes will share insights on managing workflows and ensuring smooth, transparent processes for clients. JerseyBird's journey from a small fan base to international recognition, including their partnership with the Filipino Football Federation, is truly inspiring. We're going to discuss key strategies behind their success and the importance of combining high-quality design with exceptional customer service. Thanks for joining us. Now let's welcome our guest, Hayes Canupp from JerseyBird. Welcome. How are you today?
Doing well. Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining us. We're really excited to learn more about JerseyBird and more about your story. It's really exciting and inspirational. I know right before we hit record, we were talking about how much we love your website. It's really unique, and we're just thrilled to learn more about what JerseyBird does and how you got in. So could you provide an overview of JerseyBird and just the sportswear industry you operate in general?
Yeah, for sure. So I started JerseyBird back in 2019. I was a student at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. So I was halfway through school. The original inspiration was, jerseys are very popular in college, so I would see them everywhere. And that's kind of how it got started. Originally, actually used to be a jersey shop. So you would come and you would buy pop culture related jerseys, think like Kanye type jerseys or, Juice WRLD type jerseys. But as the years went on, the trademark issues became too much. So we got into teamwear around 2020 is when we switched more towards teamwear, bulk orders, working with, youth sports programs, things like that. 2022 and 2023 was when we got a contract with the Philippines national soccer team, which kind of put us on the world stage and really pushed us forward, especially in the world of football and soccer. So now we are a heavy soccer company, but we manufacture jerseys and apparel for all sports, for customers all around the world and programs of all sizes. So that's an overview of who we are.
And I mean, I know you shared kind of how you got started, right? But I'd just love to know what inspired you to start it, and has your vision evolved since it began? Because a lot of people go to college and see people wearing jerseys or see interesting things, but not everybody comes up with an incredible business idea from it and gets started. So, what inspired you?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to take too much credit for where it is today, because this was not the original plan. I definitely did not have a grand master plan. I was just in the first year or two, just really running a little jersey shop, and it didn't do much. But that was the original inspiration, was the students around me, what started it off. But yeah, I guess it kind of just evolved into, we got pushed into teamwear. We got pushed into the bulk order industry, the more general sportswear industry, competing against, the larger companies like Nike and Adidas and things like that, trying to sign contracts with teams and that sort of thing. But originally it was just meant to be a little shop where you could come buy cool jerseys. It's turned into something a little bit bigger.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where does JerseyBird come from, the name?
I don't know. I just made it up and it sounded good. I thought the sounds were good. JerseyBird. It's got that, I don't know what that's called. It's not alliteration, but it's something there that makes it, has a ring to it. And yeah, I think the name, I think it'll stand the test of time. I think the name is the one thing we got right, from the start. The name works.
So can you tell me a little bit about what the process is for when you have a customer that comes in, what type of customer? So is it usually a team organization that'll come in and want jerseys, or can you tell us a little bit about your customers and then also the process?
Yeah. So average customer would be, let's just do a youth sports team, for example, because that's probably the most common customer that we work with. So yeah, usually it's a player or coach. They'll come to our website, they'll click start a project, which brings them to like an intake form. We'll collect various information, what sport, how many units, all the stuff that we need to know. And once they submit their form, it triggers a new workspace in Moxo. So that's when they enter that ecosystem. They get the app, hopefully, and once the project begins, then we assign a designer. They work through the drafts. Once the drafts are approved by the customer, a team or a project manager will finalize the order, get all the shipping information and all that stuff. So that's like a simplified summary of how it works.
So going from a little jersey shop, like you said, to now being an international, jersey provider, as you were building your business, what were some of the pain points that you were experiencing, and how did that lead you to finding Moxo?
Yeah, referring to the latest era, just the teamwear side of the company, that's what we are now, and that's like the bulk of our relevance, I guess. But what led us to Moxo was we were originally 100% email back and forth. So we were actually on Gorgeous, which is a popular customer service, ticketing platform, but that's what it's for. It's for customer service tickets. It's not for project management. So it's not for ongoing conversations necessarily. That we needed that back and forth, that file storage. We needed a centralized like headquarters for each little project. And we have so many projects. We're like a high quantity, I don't want to say low quality customer, but like a lot of projects are going on, and we need a way to manage thousands at a time. So that's what brought us to Moxo. And I looked at every single solution out there, potential solution. I guess that's kind of my job, is to make sure the systems are the best possible thing. So I tried everything. I spent weeks trying to figure it out. And Moxo is, it's just the best. Like for what we're trying to do, it's the best.
And what is it about Moxo? What am I trying to say? So what was kind of the change from Moxo from email? Was it be able to like track the project, like client communication?
Yeah, I would say number one is client experience. The interface is very, very strong. That's the most important thing. The second thing would be like a headquarters to store all the files, so you don't have to scroll up like, for infinity if you're on the Gmail app, because the customers are on Gmail, which is the most basic. It's not a good experience trying to find all this information, like how many units and the names and the numbers for the jerseys. Like it gets to be too much. So we needed a centralized location. That's another huge thing that Moxo brings.
And then as a business owner, how has it been helpful for you to be able to, or has it been helpful for you to be able to manage these projects, see everything that's happening?
Yeah, it's very important. And the biggest issue we had was the project abandonment rate was like 80%, 70 to 80% when we were doing it on email, because the reminders were so hard to send. We would send our reminders manually, so people would abandon the projects or ghost. But on Moxo, it's down to it's dropped at least 10%, probably more. But so we're retaining a lot more of our incoming clients, which is really, really important for us, obviously, to close those sales.
And why do you think that is, right? Obviously, you said there's this big transition from using email to Moxo, but to retain that many more customers, what do you think it is for the customer that they experience that's better for them?
Yeah, I think the automated email update system is really good. The weekly digest, the daily digest, whatever you guys are sending. I don't know the exact cadence of the emails, but it's really good. And then the other huge thing is the iOS and the Android notifications that are able to be sent. I don't know of anyone else that can do that. Everyone gets so many emails. It's not very powerful to send an email notification. It's not as good. The iOS is just next level. And I think that's a big factor.
Well, totally. I think we live in a world in which we are so used to pulling service now. We all use our apps, and I talk about this all the time on, pretty much every panel or podcast I do. But the point comes up, which is that we are so adjusted to clicking a button on our phones and getting service in our day-to-day lives. And that transition happened over the last, 10 to 15 years. It seems like our day-to-day way of living now, and people don't remember the other way, but the other way existed for many of us for a long time, right? And like we grew up without smartphones until high school, college, or whenever that was for people. So I think that shift went from email being, I think email was very centered around pushing data and pushing services. You got all these emails and you would browse through and see which one was interesting to you that you wanted to follow up on, right? That was the biggest form of advertising per se. And now it's like email is the black box of spam. So people, you see emails and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm putting that in my trash immediately, right? So the whole model has changed. So I think it's interesting you say that the notifications are so critical because, it probably provides people with this experience that's more in line with the day-to-day consumer services they use. But it's like, hey, I'm getting a business service where probably the amounts of money being spent are higher than ordering food on DoorDash, right? It's more time and it's more investment. There's more interaction. There's more collaboration required. Because they're clearly working with your team over a period of time. So I think that's really interesting to hear that your rates change just from moving off of email, because I think it's the whole all-encompassing experience of surrounding somebody when they get started with you that's so critical to a customer journey. And from your perspective, right? You talked a bit about this transition from email to Moxo. I want to go back to when you were using email before you ever touched Moxo. You said that there was this drop off that you would see. What was a typical process like with a customer then in terms of the timelines? Like, are they all generally operating off the same project timeline? Would you say that you offered different types of services? Walk us through how that worked beforehand and then how that works on Moxo.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying in this industry, pretty much everyone's in a hurry. So everyone has a game in 3 weeks, right, that they need their delivery by. So that's a problem that Moxo can't really fix, and that's what we've been dealing with forever, and we'll always deal with that. But the email was definitely slower. It was slower to get things done for sure because people, like we discussed, are not checking their email as much. They're not seeing the emails as much. So days will go by and we don't get a reply, and we can't move forward. So that's an issue that Moxo can help with. And as far as the drop off, how it would look is it's even worse for us because we'll put time and effort into a design and we'll spend resources on a design. And then for free, typically, we don't require upfront payment for the first drafts. And then people would ghost us. So that was what that would look like. And that's something that, Moxo is helping us with too.
Yeah, that's huge because in an industry where you're also, I'm sure there's a competitive advantage to being able to have people get started and get a draft before they pay, but that's also, putting your time and your team's time out there where it could be put towards something where, you're going to get actual output. So in terms of, now implementing Moxo, how long would you say a typical process takes? Like if somebody comes in and they say, hey, I need jerseys, do you use the workspace to basically track that project? Does the person getting that service now have visibility over that? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have specific, it's called workflows, I believe, right? Moxo calls it workflows for every single sport. And it lays it out all for them. That's another great thing about Moxo is they can see what's coming before it happens. So we have 4 phases. The pre-project review phase, that's just for internal members, right? We're going to read their form, make sure they're worth, working with. And then there's the design phase where, a designer will go back and forth with the customer. And, then you have the order processing phase and all that stuff. So, I guess that's how it looks in the Moxo system. Does that answer the question? So.
Yeah, definitely. I think we hear this from customers day in and day out, right? And it's also why we built Flow in a way. It's
Yeah.
we used to hear customers using Moxo, and then they would say, we ourselves, as we talk to our customers, would hear, oh yeah, each and every one of them is using it for some type of process or project, which is what we designed it for. But then we realized, well, if that's what they're getting value from, right? We come from the world of collaboration, and we are trying to solve the problem of collaboration first built into workflows. So, you know, that means we need to create a more automated way of the system guiding the process, right? Versus the human being needing to manually follow up on each action or each task in that process. Because we all know, I mean, look at the design review process you're talking about. I'm sure there's back and forth. I've been through design reviews, myself, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
back and forth discussion. Well, I like this. I want to tweak this. And then I'm sure the fact that you can go back and say, well, hey, you ordered this at a later point when someone gets something and they say, well, I wanted it this way. Now you have that track record to also show exactly what they approved, right? And that process in itself, I'm sure, is so helpful just to be able to have that Domino's pizza tracker of what's happening in the process for every project, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And along that, the timing, like you said, people are in such a rush to get their jerseys. Maybe it's like a last minute, oh, we have a game and
Yeah.
we need our jerseys. It's probably nice for them to be able to track this is where you're at in the jersey process, rather than like constant emails back and forth. Like, where are they? You can just sort of show them,
Yeah.
like Nikita said, the Domino's pizza tracker. This is
Yeah.
how
And
long it takes.
we can get a project done in one day now. I mean, we hypothetically we could do that with the email system too, but Moxo definitely streamlines things, and you see it more often now. Projects being completed in 48 or 72 hours, which that was pretty rare back on email only. It just you didn't see it very often.
And on that, line of thinking, right? Your team, I'm sure you have a team of people or other team members who are working on the design side or different parts of it. So, are there any specific examples you can share from team members in terms of their experience with it? Especially, I'm curious to those on the design side, right? Who are going back and forth in that
Yeah.
iterative process.
Yeah. So the two departments, I guess you could call them, would be the project managers and then the designers. So those are the two people, the internal users. Everyone says that they like the system. The designers specifically, I guess the feedback I've gotten is that the customers are a lot more responsive, which ties back into the notifications and all that stuff. So that's definitely what I've been hearing. And yeah, they love the interface is just so much better. I mean, the bar was very low considering what we were working with on just email. It's not ideal to just be sending attachments through email. But yeah, the way Moxo has it set up so that you can even pinpoint a certain, if you don't like this piece of the jersey, right, you tap and you can leave a note. Okay, change this piece to red. Like it's a different level of communication that is really helpful for design people like our company.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had an interior design project I was working on, and I was the client, and my requirement for them was, I'll send you a flow workspace, and this is how we will do the design review process, because
Yeah,
I know I'm going to have a lot of feedback, and I'm not sitting going on email trying to
yeah.
type up my comments so you know which part I don't like.
Hmm.
I want to be able to drop spot comments and send it over to you so you get my feedback in an instant, right? And yeah, even something as you could say small as that has such an impact on experience.
Definitely. Yeah.
And in terms of, I know you talked about stats, right? Like you've been able to reduce the amount of drop off, and that's huge to be able to increase customer retention. Something I think Christy and I have both seen from a lot of our customers is that first few weeks when you're working with somebody is the most critical time to either make or break that relationship, so to speak, right?
Hmm.
First few weeks in any customer life cycle is the time in which you can really strengthen that relationship, or somebody says, yeah, I didn't get a response fast enough, or oh, I missed the email and I forgot about it. So what would you say is your biggest learning in terms of where you see your business headed and how technology impacts your business, right? How do you think about that in terms of your business model?
That's a good question. I would say, well, the retention thing is important, but also a lot of variables go into it. With the notifications are a big one, and the speed of response is another big one, and that's on our team. That's really our job. It has nothing to do with the customer as much, our speed of response. But what I will say, this is a Moxo piece that we haven't discussed yet, is the broadcast feature, which I'm just now getting into. What what I'm most excited for long term is like the ecosystem that Moxo gives you. It's like this little like world of all your customers in one database that you can separate into lists. So for our example, we can have a soccer customer list, we could have basketball and so on, and being able to send out those broadcasts um, to retain customers long term, I think is super important to us, and that's where I see our company headed, is maintaining relationships over years. Since this is a product that is typically purchased every 1 or 2 years, that's something that we're going to need long term, to be able to stay with these customers and keep working with them over time, um, is going to be big for us. So.
And along those lines, as you're building your business and these long-term relationships, have you felt how has having your own app helped kind of establish even more of that JerseyBird brand and more of that? Well, I'll just stop there.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. The app is very cool. It just came out a couple weeks ago on iOS, so I haven't even announced it yet to the public. But no, I think it's awesome, and I think it's an app where, well, one is invite only. It's not this really flashy app that we spent years to build. It's just an app that's very useful, and I think that's what companies like go the wrong direction. Because if you asked me 3 months ago or 6 months ago before Moxo, someone said, do you think you'll build an app this year? I'd say, what are you talking about? Like, I would never build an app. Why would we need an app? But this app specifically is so useful. And I think it is a great brand builder because, okay, we have an app that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just so functional. I mean, that's the best part, is it really just helps the customer. It's awesome.
And along those lines, what has been the customer feedback with using Moxo and the app and things like that?
Yeah, the feedback about Moxo has been great. I haven't talked to many people about the app specifically. Well, the JerseyBird specific app is so new, I don't know, but people did love the Moxo app, which is basically the same thing. So yeah, it's been good. Everyone says it's great. The customers who have been with us on the email system and been with us on the Moxo app or the JerseyBird app have all said that it's a much better experience. So definitely improvement. Yeah.
And what was the improvement, just diving deeper? Is it like that they're able to track the project, or what is it that they like about using Moxo?
They say it's easier. I hear that word a lot. It's easier. So I think what they mean is like, it's just easier to get your designs. It's easier to make revisions. It's easier to communicate with our team. It's easier to get a response. All the pieces that, have existed and will exist in our process are just simpler and all right in front of you on a schedule, consolidated into one workflow. I think it's all those things combined that people really like. So it's like a little bit of everything that Moxo has.
And I'm sure it's brand building too, right? When you're in an industry that's based on relationships, word of mouth, and
Yeah.
it's a designed product in the end of the day, right? It's a physical product they're getting. It's important that brand reputation and aesthetic is maintained across the board. So I'm sure that's important too, that your brand is now going to be associated with this cool, sleek app, but not only aesthetically, but also in the fact that the app is actually useful, right?
Yeah.
It's a streamlined experience, so to speak. And I think that the great thing about that is then your brand becomes associated with that type of an experience, right? that when somebody knows when they're going to JerseyBird, you're going to get this really immersive, supported experience that's super efficient. And, they have a question, they can dive right in and they know what to do. And that's pretty amazing, because I know the number of companies to this day that are huge brands out there that, you're paying thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. And then you get into the actual process and you're getting documents via one link. And then, oh, here's a portal to check your accounts. Here's another link to look at attachments. And it's painful. I mean, it's really painful. So it's interesting you say that. You think about when we think about it from the Moxo perspective, who our biggest competition is. The competition is the existing process, because the way people currently do things, you're so used to it. But is it great? No. In fact, a lot of times there's comfort and dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
And people struggle with that.
Yeah. I mean, just to go off of that, there's nothing like Moxo had out there on the market. I went through everybody. I tested everybody. I set up an account with everyone else, all the big names. It's not even a competition. It's just not even close.
And we refer to the Domino's pizza tracker because they've established that as part of their brand, where it's so easy for them to follow. And so it's so then to have, like Nikita said, your brand is associated with a very streamlined process to get jerseys.
That's so true. It literally is the Domino's pizza tracker. And it's interesting you bring that up, because when I make my little video about this new app, that's exactly what I'm going to reference now, because people can associate it with that.
Yeah, it's something they're used to, right? Otherwise, sometimes tech itself is overwhelming. Tech oftentimes feels like it's built for tech. Built for tech people versus tech built for all of us out there who are not in the world of tech, but in the world of having a business or a business problem and managing our day-to-day processes, right? You want a system that's easy to learn and easy to adopt, not something else where you're having to familiarize yourself with a whole new world of, technology and implementations. And that in itself for so many people is overwhelming, right? So I think in many ways with Moxo, we wanted to create something that was, simpler, complex, of course, in terms of being able to manage the kinds of processes that people have, but simple in terms of being able to adopt and understand how to use it. Because I do think that's critical in tech. And speaking of, when it came to your journey with adopting Moxo and rolling it out, how easy was it for you and your team? And, how is it, if anything, has it changed the way you operate your business? Like, for example, do you have an in-person team, or how does that work? Where do you hire?
Yeah, we're totally remote. So our team is 11 people, just all around the world. So yeah, that's the setup. I'm based in Nashville, but everyone else is international. So yeah, I guess how has it changed us? Well, it's changed. The main changes have been with the automations. Like, for example, I don't think we even used Zapier until Moxo, or maybe we had one or two automations. Now our entire backend runs through Zapier, and the Moxo integration with Zapier is really flexible. You guys have a lot of things built in that you can do to save a lot of time and automate a lot of these processes. So I would say that's a big change. The back end is a lot more complicated, but it was easy to build. It's very straightforward to build, and the support is always there too. So very good support, but yeah, not too difficult to build. It only took a couple weeks, and we were running perfect.
And then along those lines, I sort of asked this earlier, but now having more context, being a business owner and having these automated steps and processes for your designers and for your team, do you see that as helpful in helping you all scale and grow? Because then you're able to really implement these processes that then will help you scale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely helps us scale it. It's definitely necessary. I mean, just some of the things that it's essential, just because when someone submits a form, right, it needs to automatically open a workspace. It needs to automatically, there's a bunch of little things that we have built in that Moxo allows us to do. I don't want to get Zapier is really helpful too. So I don't want to. Zapier helps us a ton, but Moxo's not every app integrates as many things with Zapier that Moxo does. So Moxo does a lot with Zapier, and that's a big piece um, of our operations. So that's a big part. Yeah.
And I guess along those lines, I can just imagine as a business owner, you want to make sure that your business and your brand is like maintaining the same quality. It's delivering the quality of customer service. You want to make sure that whoever you bring on is following the processes that you have in place. So I guess what I'm trying to ask, and let me know if this doesn't make sense, but I guess as a business owner, being able to have those automated flows, does that help you in making sure that no step is missed? Like there's no design, nothing will be shipped out that hasn't followed these exact procedures. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I think in the sense of like Moxo makes it very easy to obviously assign certain tasks to certain teams or individuals. So that's something that we rely heavily on. So it's like the pre-project review stage for us, which is the first 2 or 3 steps, right? That's for the managers. And it's very clear that that's for the project managers, not the designer, right? They're not even involved yet. Once it gets into that second phase, the design phase, it's very easy for us to, add a designer to the project, assign that design step to the designer, things like that. So yeah, like if I were to bring in a new hire, they could understand everything. Well, at least a designer could understand everything within the first day. It's very straightforward. So I think Moxo does a good job of that.
Yeah. As opposed to maybe like email, trying to follow this back and forth. Maybe something would be missed. This way it's all set up. Cool.
Definitely.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we see that, right? Like we have team members across the world, and we we always say we're our best case study in a way to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we proved it, and we proved the use case and the value with ourselves first before we sold this experience to anyone else, because we run our business on Moxo and we have teams all over the world. And I think that the only way we're really able to seamlessly track so many of the processes and accounts where multiple parties are involved from also so many different teams is using our own product, because everyone can look and be like, oh, I know exactly where we are in the process. It's not me who needs to take action. It's these 4 people, and then it's my turn. And then I also know based on what they say, it might change what I need to do. And it's so much smoother. So, and we hear this from customers a lot that, maybe they didn't plan to go remote, but now they're able to better support more staff. Like they can hire more staff if they want, because each team member is more productive. They can do more business. But the bigger thing is also that they can manage staff from wherever. They don't need them to physically be there, right? So I think hearing that you have a fully remote business as well, and you're able to grow, and you're from what I'm understanding, planning on operating off of that model is really exciting, because I think that is a lot of times the new way of doing business. You don't have to be limited by the old model, right? The new model is build wherever you are. I mean, I've heard stories of people who we spoke to somebody recently on the podcast who had serious health issues and thought she wasn't going to be able to like move again. And she created her business when she was on bed rest, right? And is totally remote. So it's so amazing and inspiring to hear stories that now means people anywhere in the world can create their business from scratch. And there are tools like this out there to help people get started and continue to grow. Because I think that's the big thing. Once you get out there, do you have something that's sustainable, and do you have a model that you can bet on?
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Now, looking back in that context, is there anything you now would have done differently, or do you think any advice you would give companies based on your experience who are considering getting started or implementing some kind of a tech solution to help their processes? What would be your advice?
My advice would be, get off email for sure. Definitely get away from that back and forth email, because the retention just isn't going to be there. I mean, as Well, my main job is to build the systems. So that's the role I'm in. So if you're in my type of position and no one's going to build the systems, then and it's up to you. Then you need to make sure that you're providing the best customer experience. So yeah, I mean, not to sound cliche, but like, I mean, Moxo is the best option. So yeah, buy Moxo. I guess just you should test it out.
Yeah, we have customers on the side of, 10 clients, then we have customers with 5 million clients. And we hear, interestingly enough, the same type of pain points originally in a slightly different perspective, of course, based on what your role is and scope, but a lot of similar types of benefits, right? It comes down to efficiency and a great experience. When you deliver a great experience, and you naturally make your process much more efficient, people have a seamless way of working with you, and that translates to retention, that translates to being able to be more productive. And I think something I heard from you, by the way, on the note of using things like Zapier, we love that and we support that, and a lot of the way we think about how we build our system is around bringing these external systems that you use into the process, because we all know you're not trying to solve for one single point in that process, but you're trying to solve for managing that entire process. And managing that entire process comes with, sure, Moxo is the hub for extending or managing the actual interactions, but there will be things on the back end that you use. There may be a CRM, there could be a payments platform, there could be design software. There's so many ways in which you may need to hop in and out. And the whole idea of our integration framework and automation system is such that you can pull those important points back into the process, right? So I really appreciate what you said about that, just to highlight it, because I think that it's such a critical part of most people's business processes to have these sort of external third-party systems you use, and you need a seamless way to bring them in the context of what you're working on.
Definitely. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I mean, I have a couple more questions for you, right? You talked us through how you got started, your inspiration. I had heard you had a viral TikTok post in January, I think, of 2023. I was curious, how did that impact JerseyBird's growth and your opportunities? Because I'm sure in your business, building a brand is, like we said, so critical. So, you have social media, and that can totally change the game. How do you feel that changed things for JerseyBird?
Yeah, so we're definitely a organic content company. So we do short form video for everything. That's 100% of our client acquisition is the organic video. So yeah, the video I think you're referring to would be the Philippines national team. Probably we posted a video. Yeah, what we do is like we design concepts and then we show them on Instagram Reels and TikTok. Like, here's what we would make if we manufactured for blank. So we did one for the Philippines, and they saw it, and then they ended up giving us a 6-month contract because they were in between manufacturers. I think Adidas dropped them or something. I can't remember who came before, but there was this window in between that we happened to post when they had no sponsor. So that's how we somehow got them on board, which was definitely way out of our league, but that boosted us onto the world stage. And to have a FIFA team like that, and we even got into the FIFA museum and everything
Wow.
that came with that. So
That's incredible.
yeah, that was big. But then we lost. Puma took it from us, so Puma just took it this year. But to be in that conversation is enough for us,
And I'm sure that means, in a way, things like social media play such a big role in your ability to market. Do you feel like that's a critical part of your strategy in terms of your tech stack, right?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have there would be no hope for us if we tried to build this the traditional way, at least for where I want us to be in 10 or 20 years. The only way to get there is through organic content, because that's the only thing that the big companies, you can't really buy that. Like, they just weren't built that way. So it's different. People have a different perception of them because of the way they were built. So I'm hoping that, we build it a certain way, and it allows us to, reach the pinnacle of sportswear through content, which no one's done yet, but I'm hoping it's going to work. So yeah, hopefully it keeps working.
Yeah. Well, it's clearly worked for you before, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. It's gone so far so good.
Yeah.
But how big can it go? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
One last question for you from my side is, from your perspective, do you see any emerging trends in your industry? And what do you think are the big things to think about in the next few years for your industry?
I would say so. I would call our industry, we've got like on-demand sportswear. So custom sportswear that's created pretty quick. So our competitors, like our close competitors, are not Nike, Puma, Adidas. Our close competitors are the other companies that manufacture for the small local sports teams, 10, 20 units, things like that. So in terms of that industry, the on-demand industry, yeah, I think the client experience is essential, and whoever creates the best client experience will win long term. And the interesting thing about this on-demand sportswear industry is there's really not a go-to company. So for like a small sports team, like I play on a soccer team, that a very low-level soccer team, adult league type soccer team, but people say, where are we going to get our jerseys from? It's like you don't really have like a consensus. Oh yeah, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, right? And it's a massive industry. So if we can become that go-to manufacturer, then that's where I see it heading. And I think the trend would be who has the best experience, combined with the best products. So yeah.
Totally. Well, and you highlight such an interesting point, I think, which is that the product alone is not enough. And especially in this day and age, right? Already product is of course critical and important in your industry. But I think that what you highlight is to really be able to differentiate yourself in this day and age and build that brand, you have to provide an amazing experience around it. And I think that's where so many businesses struggle too, is having that perfect combination of the two. So it's really incredible to hear how JerseyBird and with your thinking and your inspiration has been able to get to where it has today. And it's exciting to learn from you. And we're very hopeful and excited for where your company's going.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, it keeps going well, and we're definitely going to be using Moxo for a while. So yeah, it's been awesome so far.
Well, thank you so much, Hayes. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you so much.